Keeping the Flame awardee, superintendent, educator, speaker, consultant, author. And in February 2016, Dr. McCoy was named superintendent for the Jennings School District. And under his leadership there, multiple graduating Jennings classes have achieved 100% graduation, career, and college placement. In 2019, Jennings School District made Missouri history by performing at the accredited with distinction range, with over 90% of students on free meals achieving over 90% on the Missouri Annual Performance Report for accreditation. Jennings is the only school district in Missouri to create and operate 2 school-based clinics for medical and mental health needs, 2 homeless shelters, 2 grocery store hubs, as well as centers for healing and healing engagement and parent-child interaction therapy. And then we get to COVID. Since March of 2020, Dr. McCoy has served as a Johns Hopkins University certified contract tracer locally. He served on the Missouri Governor's COVID-19 Council and has led advising education leaders and various officials and corporations about reopening schools. Jennings was the only district in St. Louis to resume in-schooling during COVID-19 in July 2020. We've asked Dr. McCoy here to discuss why and how the district opened and operated successfully during the pandemic, how you can support the district efforts. Please welcome Dr. McCoy.
Thank you so much, Carol. It's a pleasure to be with each and every one of you. Thank you for that warm introduction. We have about 45 minutes together. I have a lot of information, but more important than information is always inspiration, and to inspire you to do more and to know that more is possible. And ultimately to let you know that we have the solutions and we have good solutions within us. And it's just a matter of having those solutions meet the right people that's ready to move at the speed of the need. So that's number one. I know that this is also a women's group or a women's group, and it's a faith group. And so I want to first acknowledge that women are the smartest people on the planet. And so if you have something to add to anything I have to say, feel free to. We're going to chat and go back and forth because you make our world amazing. You make it a better place, and you are leaders, and don't let any other person say anything different, man or woman. I salute you for being the beautiful, boundless, bold women that you are. As people, and that's honestly the truth. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman. I think every other human being would say that, should say that.
Dr. McCoy, I just want to footnote, although many of us are people of faith, we are not a faith group. We're actually non-sectarian.
Non-sectarian. Thank you. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, having said that as well, I thank those that are of faith and those that are not, because whether it's of a faith in a God or a faith in humanity, you have faith that's going to keep you moving forward. The source of your faith may differ, but the fact that you have faith in hope for a brighter tomorrow than yesterday is what makes you do this. You wouldn't be doing this if you didn't feel like it was going to help somebody. So again, I applaud you, people of faith, be it faith in humanity, faith in a deity, or faith in the collective work that we have to do. And that's really where I want to start. I want to start with, I've been asked to speak about how to do schooling well during COVID-19. And I'm going to speak both in sound bites, which means I'll say something and it's a book in and of itself, and then I'll elaborate, or I'll move to the next book. And so because there's a lot to say. I'm going to say this a second time. While I'm speaking, I encourage you to chat, type it in, And also feel free to jump in as Carol did. You can do a reaction of a hand and I'll see it and I'll say, hey, my good friend, Karen Francis, go for it. How you doing? Or I'll say, Sandra Murdoch, who's I've known forever. I'll say, go for it. I see your hand up and I'll say, jump right in. So many of you I know and many of you I'm just meeting. So know that this is interactive just as much as it is a presentation. Lastly, I am going to share my screen. Since I see this is being recorded and it's being cast on YouTube, I will be very candid. It's never to toot my horn. It's never to do anything. I want to share facts. And the fact is, what I'm about to share with you has been shared with Dubai and 300,000 students there because they've asked me to help them lead getting schools back into session there. It's been shared with 11 other countries from Turkey, Europe, Canada, as well as Saudi Arabia and other places, because the goal that we have is the same as the goal they have. We need to move forward and beyond this current state of being. So you're getting some prized information that I usually pay them, or they usually pay me quite a bit to speak to them about this stuff. Nonetheless, it's not about the pay, nor is it about being paid. It's about the difference and the actual product and the progress. That's more important, and that's why I'm with you. All right, so having said that, I'm gonna start by sharing my screen to show you, I'm gonna just take us to a slide and start off. So we're in a paradigm shift, and we have to shift to this paradigm, and hopefully give me a reaction, thumbs up if you can see my screen. If you see a little child with the hand, beautiful. All right, so the paradigm shift is that we have to educate as if our life, our legacy, and our liberty depends on it, because it really does. I did share this with the whole association of colleges for teachers in a conference just a few months ago about equity and access. So that's what this is coming from. Now, before COVID-19, these were the actual words of a student that a student shared with me. She shared these words. They're seared on my heart, so I will say them as opposed to have you see my screen because I have it memorized. Who can I turn to? I'm a person lost in the world. I don't know where to turn. I'm a girl wanting to achieve at anything I do. I want to be treated like I exist. I want to be seen for more than the outer me. I want to be seen for the person placed inside of me. Sexism. But I feel like I'm all alone in the world. I feel like there's no one to turn to when I feel like it's the end of me. Sometimes I want to run away to a place where no one can hurt me. Sometimes life for me will never go right. It will just never go right. So what should I do if the problems I face won't come up from this deep, dark place inside of me? Who can I turn to if I can't even turn to the person who gave life to me? Who can I turn to? Those words were uttered to me in 2006 by a girl named Samantha. And I told her there are millions of people who feel this way and we will let the world know it, but I want you to first show it and say it to the entire group. And she repeated those words to the group and not just me. We then wrote this book 2 months later where it was published for the world to see. The Huffington Post picked up her poetry and over 3 million people have read it. And I make sure that I bring the student's voice to every presentation by making sure we hear these words. Who can I turn to? I'm a person and I'm lost in the world. Who can I turn to? And I'm going to get to the punchline. The answer is you. Every one of you who are listening to the sound of my voice, you are who the youth can and should turn to. You are who your friends should turn to in a period of COVID and isolation, desperation, depression, anxiety. You are who others can turn to in a land of division, even in the United States, with the numbers that I call them the infamous numbers of 51 and 47. 51% for one candidate, 47% for another. One side views it as homicide for the other person to win. The other side views it for suicide for the other person to win. Either way, you're dead. Who can I turn to? We're the bridge. That's the focus. Those of us that said, turn to me, are the bridges to help people through troubled waters. Not focusing on sides, the suicides and the homicides, but more so the bridge. So now, before COVID, and even as far back as 1955, right after Brown versus the Board of Education, classrooms looked like this, even in 2020, in February, January, and even March. Rows, seats, desks, a few diverse people sprinkled throughout, students attentive, looking for the sage on the stage. And maybe you add a computer to it. But the question is, what's changed in the last 60 years? Before COVID-19, not much. There was a lot of talk about achievement gaps in students who aren't as engaged as they should be and aren't achieving as much as they could. And it doesn't necessarily need to be said, but I'm going to give you this spoken word that I published in 2016. It's called hard times. Hard times. Grandma just died. There's no other family nearby. Feeling like Godzilla's bride, because every 2 hours, one of us aspires from an act of violence. A Black male has died every 2 hours for the past 20 years for acts of homicide. But during COVID, every 7 minutes, as of November 2020, and every 1 minute, as of January 2021, someone dies. So all I do is hide, feeling empty inside. There's no understanding these hard times. It doesn't even help to get high. A lot of people self-medicate on marijuana and alcohol and other things. Go to school? Can't. Go to church? Why? Don't deny it. Even if I could, it wouldn't help because there's too much pain and there's too much pride. Call it fate, but hate helped me just get by. Hate helped me just get by. So to my surprise, though, a new feeling has visited my mind. This feeling has visited my mind when all alone. It's a suffocating feeling inside. It says, I'm your savior. God? No. Suicide? Yes, suicide. Now, before COVID-19, suicide rates were at an all-time high. And frankly, depression and anxiety and trauma was experienced by 7 out of 10 people before COVID. Now, during COVID, it's even higher, where 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10 people have experienced trauma and some form of mental health issues or ailments, and suicide rates are even higher. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in America. So this is what I'm speaking about. So now, talking about educating during COVID. Sadly, the COVID reality has been this for millions of people. There are 60 million public school students, 10 million approximately private school students, 2 million charter school students out of the nation. So we're talking roughly 72 million kids. Ultimately, the question is this. Out of the 72 million kids, this has been the reaction for schools, many of them. Schools are closed. Schools are virtual, as you see right here. And teachers are trying their best to do it remotely. Some schools have reopened. I'm pleased to have been the leader to say, I refuse to close if there's one kid that wants and needs to come, because we're a public school on public taxpayer dollars, and we are here to serve you. Power to the people. If you want our school closed, don't send your child. But if you need someone, we are here. The schools that are open, and let me start with saying private schools who have a private financial model that if they close, then their value of a school, a wealthy private school, or an affluent, expensive one that may cost $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year, like some that we could name right here, they stayed open because of the financial model and the need to continue to add value. It pushed them to have the courage to do this. But they opened schools just like this. All you see that's different is still rows and desks from 1955, plastic borders and boundaries to hopefully stop COVID-19 from coming, or spit or something from physically going past the barrier, and mask on the kids. And a sage on the stage still with no mask and with a microphone and a smart board. 1955 model. Some schools did this. The teachers came in, taught remotely, poorly in most instances. You see the teacher looking at himself in the screen, not his own class, and needing to put pictures of kids in the seats and desks to remember who his classes were, with books to make him get in the mindset of, I'm a teacher, let's do this for real. This is crazy. I never imagined this, but this is how we're going to do it. And that's school for so many millions of people with kids remotely. But we need a paradigm shift to embrace the future of education, schooling successfully during COVID-19. This is a picture of something that I've been sharing for 10 years from a futurist organization when I worked at Caltech and in Irvine, California on the West Coast. 10 years ago, we knew that education would need to be this in the future. It would need to be more personalized, where school takes on many forms, sometimes being self-organized by the learner. So a house, a computer, a museum, outside the four walls of the school, and in the home and in the community. We also knew that learning playlists needed to be created so that you can be asynchronistic and choose at any time what you want to learn. We also knew that a wide variety of platforms were needed. So not just laptops, Chromebooks, and do Zoom, but many ways to access knowledge. We also knew that diversity in credentials and certificates mattered, that were industry recognized credentials that students had to show demonstration of mastery. That's quite different than this. Mastery towards carpentry right now, mastery towards pharmacy. As a pharmacy technician, my kids take the pharmacy technician course, carpentry, journeyman, journeywoman's license, OSHA certifications, power tools, forklifting, ProStart culinary certifications at 16, 17, 18, Microsoft, CCENT, Cisco, CompTIA A+, those are all networking, routing, IT certifications that my high schoolers get right now. This was envisioned and wrote 10 years ago, written like this, where you basically have changes in the way we educate that allows for diverse learning ecosystems in which learning adapts to the child and not the child having to adapt to just the learning. All right, other examples of that are Khan Academy, where you can learn anything from the best teachers of the world and so forth. Other examples are Tinkering Time, Critical Thinking, Teamwork, Career Pathways, Early College, Learning by Doing, Flipped Instruction, where you only come together to actually talk about the project and see better ways, and then you go out and learn the how. Apprenticeships, internships, job shadowing, and more. My kids are currently engaged in this, and you'll see it as we go further. This is Harvard's Pathways to Prosperity article called Pathways to Prosperity from a 2014 report that Dr. Art McCoy, myself, yours truly, was cited in, that education employment consortiums expand job mobility, struggling suburbs, and create flexibility and interesting educational and career pathways. That's a quote from it. From the Germany model, when I was in WashU, and I'm sorry, when I was in Harvard for a year in 2010, getting this down to a science and then multiplying it throughout the country. So I'm going to skip to an important page, trying to find it. But ultimately, I want to share with you the framework. The framework is this. I call it BC for before Common Era, or before Christ. BC is for before COVID-19. DC and before COVID-19 actually represents March 2020 or before. Then you have DC. Well, before we get to DC, it's on the screen now. Let's go to AC. AC is like after Common Era, after Christ. It stands actually for after COVID. And I project, and I've been projecting since I finished my contact tracing in May, the first educator in the state of Missouri to get it from Johns Hopkins, that is, that after COVID means after COVID is no longer a threat to our life or our way of life. And that will be approximately July or August 2022. BC is before March 2020. AC is approximately after July or August 2022. So if you're thinking schools will be back normal, the vaccine is out, so forth, and things will be great for July 2021, I'm telling you that that's mistaken. Why? Because in order for us to get to a stage where it's after COVID is a threat to our life or our way of life, it takes either herd immunity or a successful vaccine that is four things: distributed to everyone, that takes 6 months alone; actually effective, the verdict is not out as to if it's effective for everyone. 90% to 94% actually is effective, but 10% is still not, even for what's out there. And we don't know if it only works for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. And when you take the vaccine, both doses, you still can get COVID-19 and transmit it for the first 3 months, even since completing the vaccine. Again, from the first doses 3 months later, or from the second doses 1 month later, you still can receive it or contract it. Lastly, to the vaccine, it's going to take a long time before enough people to have it not be a threat to our life or way of life trust the vaccine. What are the side effects? What is going to happen to me if I do this with regard to my own life and health? Many people remember Tuskegee and being injected with something that was harmful, and they don't trust the government. Many people just don't trust anything in general because trust takes a lot. And so it will take 2 years for somebody to wait and see for the trust to be established. So the date is July or August 2022 for COVID to no longer be a threat, possibly at the earliest, to our life or way of life. So where are we now? We are living in a domain that I call DC, not to be confused for District of Columbia, but it literally means living during COVID. How do you educate successfully living during COVID? DC, in DC, not BC. BC is never coming back, just like BC before Christ or Common Era is never coming back. AC is further away. We are living in DC. That's the era. In DC, Maslow's comes before Bloom's. What does that mean? On the sheet you see, on the screen, you should see Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Educators, behavioral psychologists, and others are taught Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it is this: that schools, in order to do schooling well in DC, must focus on physiological needs first: safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. What does that mean? That means that even when you're looking at the screen, you should be looking to see if the kid has on pajamas, or if they have their teeth brushed, face washed, or if you can hear gunshots or arguing and yelling, if there's kids and adults running around in the background. When you're in a screen situation, knowing that you're on behind a screen, the first thing you should be thinking about, I'm showing you these screens, or looking at the houses and looking at the faces and making sure they have on actual clothes and actually have food, water, shelter, a roof over their head, and so forth, knowing that the computer has been given by the school. knowing that the connections have been given by the school because COVID demands that computers get given out like pencils. COVID, living in DC requires a whole new paradigm. So let's start with that paradigm. In order to get the computer, schools during COVID had to disseminate 4 C's: computers, Chromebooks. Jennings was a 1-to-1 school district in 2018 for computers to 1 for staff for students as an urban district, one of the few. But during COVID, we became 1-to-1 Chromebooks. So they all got laptops and we gave them out like pencils. Okay, but that's not enough. What if you don't have internet connection? So the second C is connectivity. I worked with Sam Page and was the first to ask him to give the CARES Act money for connectivity. He said, yes, we did a public town hall release here in Jennings in July while we had summer school in person. And he announced where he was giving $4 million to schools who needed it for computers and for connectivity through the library. So now every kid gets connectivity, broadband. That's the second C. Third C is every kid needs a life coach, someone to coach them through life. That's where you can come in, because not every teacher knows how to be a life coach. Not every teacher has the time to coach, and certainly not every teacher has your experience. The sad reality is many teachers are overwhelmed, depressed, and trying to just figure out how to deal with secondary trauma of teaching either from home or from school and worrying about their own family, mental health, and more. Teachers need the support of you as life coaches for them and for the students. The first C is computers that are Chromebooks so that they can have it at home to see and communicate. Everyone needs that. Before COVID, it was not equitable. It was whoever could afford it would get it. But now everyone needs it. It should be given like pencils. Second C is connectivity. The third C is a life coach. Even how to tell that parent who doesn't have the connections and don't have the money for their own broadband that you can go to the library, contact the library vice president or president, and they will give you a hotspot to take to your house that looks just like this, and it will give you access for 4 people to have connection in a house. And you can even get 2 of them for a house for 8 people. But they need life coaches to advise them. Let me go further about this life coach thing. When we talk about life coaches, I tell people that living in DC is like this. It's like going from age 21, where you're free and you can do anything. You got your life ahead of you. You got your college almost done, or you got a job, you got a car, you can get a hotel room, you can do whatever. You're free and you're 21. And then the very next day, you're 91. You're 91. And you have to depend on someone to bring you even food. You're subject to risk. People don't hear you, they can't see you, and nobody comes to visit you. Like even the people who say that they love you, it's like, no, I don't see them, I don't feel them. They don't even understand how I feel, what I'm thinking about. DC, in how we do schooling, has to be the understanding psychologically that we're jumped from 21 to 91. And I don't care if you're 6 years old, you're 91 now. I don't care if you're 51, you're 91. You could die at any time around the right person or the wrong person. That's the reality of DC. So I established a whole list of things of how to live if you're all of a sudden 91, but you used to be 21. And the first thing is perfect attendance doesn't matter. You don't come to school every day because we say so. You stay home anytime that you feel like you may die or you may kill someone else because of your activities. You get rewarded for being honest about, I was around somebody that maybe gave me something, so I will not come because I don't want to put you at risk. Secondly, how do you live at 91? You tell people, I don't feel up to it today. Psychologically, I'm overwhelmed and I need some support. I need a mental health day. I need a break. You have permission to say this now, as if you're 91. 91 says, I need some help. Get over here. Bring me some groceries. I can't go out there. I might slip on the ice. I can't drive. Okay, you're 27 and you're a teacher and you are about to hurt yourself because you're trying to act like everything is the same. No, we have different rules of communication. That's the fourth C, communication. During wartime, your communication determines life or death, and you got to have your fellow soldiers back. We are warriors. And so the communication, the fourth C is communication, because the answer is this: you cannot not communicate. And you must over communicate. You cannot not communicate. What does that mean? When you're not talking to me, you're actually talking to me, telling me that you're depressed, you're alone, you're isolated, something's wrong, because you are not saying something. You cannot not communicate. So even not communicating is communicating. Secondly, if you feel like what you have to say is so silly, or you're alone and you're the only one feel this way, you're wrong. People feel it, but sometimes they're not encouraged to say it. So you can never over communicate, because then the second you say it, like, I feel like I'm 91, then it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That helps me articulate in a second why I feel this way, why I need this help, why I'm afraid for you to come over, why it's essential that you not come over. So the fourth C for schooling during COVID is communication. And then as a leader, I became a contact tracer. That's like the fifth C, contact tracer, so that I can educate myself. So what did I learn? I learned in May that as long as we kept what I was calling 30 square feet of distance from every person, that was mitigation number one, 30 square feet, so that you don't have close contact. Now, why 30 square feet? Well, because a woman's arm is about 3 feet long, and another person's arm is about 3 feet long. So the radius is 6. And then if you do like the math for area, because we're talking 2 dimensions, like stay away from me from, left to right, or like vertically and horizontally. Like, don't have people above me that's too close, below me, left to right, front to back, all directions. So when we say stay 6 feet away, some people understand that's 6 feet in all directions. Well, 6 feet in all directions is 30 square feet. So then we took the classroom blueprints and said, how many classrooms have the minimum of 600 square feet? If you have a 600 square foot classroom, that means your maximum number of people is 20 and you're at the max. So we set our student to teacher ratio to 15 plus a teacher to be at 16 people, to give you enough square feet of 30 square feet per person. And during the summer, we actually did 10 to 1, because we had 60 square feet per person, because I wanted them to be 12 feet away. There was a report from MIT that said without a mask, you need to be 13 to 26 feet away to not have to worry about this without a mask. 26 feet away. 3 meters is what they printed in the research. So I did the ratios for if you're 30 square feet away, 10 to 1 classroom ratio, and then a minimum of, 60 square feet away, so 10 to 1 maximum, and then I did it for 30 square feet away with the 15 to 16 to 1 maximum. So that's for distance. Then secondly, now what does the research currently say? What is the practice? That's the research. The practice is some physicians that says you only need 3 feet away for kids and you'll be okay. Yeah, that may be the opinion of several hundred professionals, but I'm sticking with Harvard and Johns Hopkins and MIT that said 26 feet with no mask, and then with the mask, 6 feet minimum. And so that's 30 square feet and 60 square feet, so forth. So, all right. So now with the 30 square feet, 15 to 16 kids per class with the teacher. The second thing is mandated masks. We mandatory masks. You have to have masks. So no close contact. Face coverings is another C. So these are the 3 C's for mitigating COVID. No close contacts. Contact is the C. Face coverings, which is a shield or a mask. And then the last one is no personal touch. So that means hygiene every day and cleaning stuff that's high touch areas multiple times a day. Water fountains, we actually closed them down, didn't allow them until the CDC said they're no problem. We didn't use water fountains, and we still have them shut down. Even though the CDC said they're okay to use, we have water stations, individualized. No silverware. Everything is disposable. Everything is grab and go. They pick up a sack lunch and they grab and go. how else can you help? Well, the deal is there are tons of kids virtually learning, but they still need food. So every week we give food, school lunches in grab and go bags, and we need volunteers to just give out bags. And we do it by putting them in the trunks of cars so that we never allow them to let windows down. Because that's the other mitigation is ventilation. If you're in a room, keep the windows down. If you're in a car, keep your windows down by 3 inches on both sides with the mask, and you're 70% less likely to get COVID, windows down. If you're in a closed space room, open your windows. And if you're sitting under a vent, you have a 70% less chance of getting COVID sitting underneath a vent, pushing air away from you. But we need people who can help with food for those who are virtual, because some people are still hungry, and giving out food that are sack lunches or groceries, because ultimately some kids won't come and they don't need to, but they still need feeding. But back onto the track of how to educate and do schooling successfully during COVID, those who know they need to stay home, but when they need to get food or need to assemble, that's something that they need to be able to come to a school place, get a grab and go, or get meals and go. All right, I'm back on track for how to educate during COVID using Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everything that I've just talked about literally has been on the category of just the physiological needs and the safety needs in this new reality that makes it different than this. Just some rows and desks in 1955 style with a smart board and some mask on. It's got to be different than that. So back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What we also did was understand that in addition to physiological, water, food, sleep, mental health, sleep helps you get that. Safety needs of physical interaction and interpersonal security. So that's why I said, look at the screen and see if the kid's safe. There was a kid who had their parents murder each other while the kid was learning on Zoom. And all while the teacher was teaching, no one was paying attention to the safety needs of that kid who just had parents murder one another while that kid was on Zoom. That actually happened. So you have to use even virtual learning to look at Maslow's first, but then secondly, you can bring students to school, but you need to have your school be safe. All right, what are the things that we did to make our school safe? We had one direction in hallways so that the hallways had one flow of breathing and traffic, so that you're breathing in one direction, you're walking in one direction, you have on masks, and we made that entire hall have a circular path where you walk one way and you go back out and go that one way. That's number one. Number two, physiologically safe. In our seats and rows and desks, we literally made row 1 for the group of kids that came on one set of days, because kids could choose to do a blended model where you come 2 days a week or 3 days a week, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. We actually made Fridays virtual, so it would be equal 2 days a week for those people, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So what did the teachers do? The teachers did a great job making sure that the kids who came on Monday, Wednesday would have the first row. And then the students who came on Tuesday, Thursday would have the second row. So that ultimately at no time is a row, you should be seeing the desk, right? At no time do you have this, which is different than the private schools, because private schools just did this. Come to school, everybody, for the most part, not all. They said, all right, come to school. We got your mask, we got your border. No, contact tracing taught us row 1 is for Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday. Row 2 is for rows 2 and 4 is for Tuesday, Thursday. Why is that important? Well, for the C that says no touch, no contact. Because if someone touched that desk yesterday and the cleaning did not work, which we still clean, but if it didn't get it off, and we also spray with an agent that keeps killing the stuff on it for 3 days, and we spray it with a solution that continuously kills germs for 3 days. But if that doesn't work, then you have your own desk that you are only using on the days that you used. When you have 10 kids or 15 kids in a class versus 30, you got enough desks and got enough seats and got enough space to do that. That's how we've had 0 COVID cases among our students from July to now. All right, still on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, still continue with the presentation. Still on safety, everything is grab and go, take it out. Classes, you make them as self-contained as possible. So instead of switching classes at the elementary, middle, and high school, you keep the same class and you switch the teacher as much as you possibly can. Those are best practices for safety on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All right, now love and belonging. No matter whether it's by Zoom or no matter whether it's in person, you have to make sure you establish community, that the child belongs here, that you are loved, that I see you. My time is like winding up, so I'm gonna speak faster. To establish love, I tell people equity, my definition of equity is this: meeting at the speed of the need. So meeting needs at the speed of the need. Equity is what love looks like in public amongst strangers. So how does a teacher, or how do you say you love and love students or your school community? By acknowledging, I see you. Saying, I see you. You're at home trying to learn and it's not working. Then after the I see you stage, and I see you is an acronym for inclusion, include diverse groups of people, those seen and unseen. That's the I in I see you. S is sense what they need. Sense it. And if you can't sense it, ask them to say it. You cannot over communicate. You cannot not communicate. Say it. The E is then engage yourself in trying to deliver it. Engage, do something to deliver it. But overall, if you can't engage, then at least empathize, have empathy. Not sympathy, oh, that's so sad, but empathy. I felt that way. I felt like this, and I understand what it could feel like to be 91 and go from 21 to 91. So this is what helped me, because I have the empathy. This is what the system should include, because it may help you, or it helped my family, and therefore it can help you. Empathize is the E in ICU. And then the U is, of course, understand. Understand the situation. I see a comment from Ruth. It says, I think that the federal COVID money covers some of the cleaning, extra PPE and expenses for schools. At least that was the intent. And where do you find teachers? So yes, the COVID money covers it, but the problem is it gets bottlenecked at the governor's office from federal, and then bottlenecked by the county executive, where he has $10 million sitting there waiting for somebody that's got some influence to ask, can we use it for computers and COVID, which happened to be me in that case. So he gives $4 million to about 5 districts. But the point is, why I have to ask? What's that about? I mean, it's like, why can't you create a system where you already sensed it? You saw it. You had some engagement because you got empathy, because some people are dying and some people need to be in school and not have them die. And now I understand it shouldn't take some political push. It should be a system in place before somebody calls from this line to ask. That's what I see you means. And that's what I support you means, making that question relevant to the point that was asked. So I support you means engagement and being that bridge, because you have influential power of people that can get stuff that people don't know about, and that can do stuff that people wouldn't do if you didn't engage. And then the last one is you are sufficient. This is what a loving and belonging community creates, the sense that you are sufficient. Like you are enough, you are sufficient. And in COVID in DC, I had to be honest, there are not a lot of people who feel like they're sufficient. So if you are not sufficient, then we must be sufficient. That means that anything that I can't do, we can do, or we can understand and help me understand why I shouldn't even try to do it. Because if we can't do it, then maybe it shouldn't be done. So it's like the we are sufficient. That's the culture of a love and belonging community. And that's what allowed us to open in actually April for first responders, July for summer school, and then August on time for all students. Because not only did Art McCoy become a contact tracer, when I told my staff I was doing it, my 2 board members became a contact tracer, all my principals, my nurses, and my teachers. That idea about desk and roles and directions is not Art McCoy's. Those are my teachers in them saying that. They made it stronger. I was not sufficient, but we were totally sufficient. There is no I in success. Everybody talks about there's no I in team. They're a liar. There's some big-headed leaders out there that take the credit, or one. The letter T is two I's put together. And a leader will take those T apart and say, that's me, pointing at themselves with the two T's. But there is no I in success. If it's successful, it ain't responsible for one person's doing. It took some we the people doing it. And so the success of our collective body, the beloved community, said, let's add this, Dr. Boyd, let's add daily screeners so that you screen before you come on the practice on the campus. And then we'll print it out and screen it in the classroom. So it's a double redundant system, and that we ultimately know it, and we can give it to visitors and everyone so we can track all of their information, like their email, their phone number, and who they were and when they were there. And it's already time-stamped, and it's not more work for me. Brilliant idea from we the people, not Art McCoy. It came from my people. And we use that. It's on our website, the COVID contact tracing form, screening form for visitors, students do it, and staff. And it automates the stuff right away. Database and everything. All right. So now, as I close down with just the COVID about doing COVID DC stuff, I'm going to skip from that. The point is Maslow's comes before Bloom's. Well, okay, in order to fully know what that means, what is Bloom's? Bloom's is the theory of learning. How do you learn? And so Bloom's taxonomy, how do you learn? This is how I said it to my students at graduation. Counting 1, 2, 3, teaching kids how to count comes second. Teaching kids what counts comes first. You and me, we count. Let's save our lives. Let's save our health. Let's save our mental health. Let's be together as much as we can. So the 5 C's, computers, connectivity, caring adults and life coaches and educators, credit hours, action learning, credentials. When I talked about those credentials, I literally took, we started a program that I didn't think of and create. Terrence Crowley did. Every kid who's been arrested since DC during COVID, March 2020 in St. Louis County, who didn't do something bad enough to go to jail, but just got a court mandated mentor, we gave them a space in our district to come because they came from UCD, they came from Hazelwood, they came from Normandy, they came from Riverview, they came to us. We got 30 kids that are here now. Even while all my other kids are just coming back on Tuesday, they've been here doing the whole break because they have a mentor. They have mental health with a therapist every other week for 2 hours. We're teaching them how to do building homes, how to do construction in our workforce development high school class. Habitat for Humanity has them building a house in North St. Louis City and County, and South Side too of city. And Scott S. Wilson is paying them, gave us money to our foundation to pay them $15 an hour. So we took a kid, about 15 of them, some of who stole cars, carjacking with a gun, and said, there's a better way. Let's get you a therapist. Let's get you a life coach, 24 hours to call, and let's teach you why this is sick. You're killing yourself and others. This is the way to do it. And we'll pay you $15 an hour to do the right thing and give you a skill where you can be your own carpenter after you leave here and you're 16, 17, 18. That is the combination of what Maslow's hierarchy need type education looks like. Let's keep you physiologically safe, and me too, because you're not going to hold me up to get my car. Let's keep safety and belonging. Secondly, safety, then love and belonging. Hey, we care about you. You're not thrown away. You just made some mistakes, but you're not going to make them anymore. Not on our watch, because otherwise you're going to be in a jail cell if you keep doing this. So let's teach you how you do it the right way. Give you a mentor, life coach, give you a therapist because you got some stuff that you need, some poison is in you that you got to get out. Somebody did it to you because we're born in some situations where you couldn't control, and you got to get that poison out. And then ultimately, now let's move towards productive citizenship and behavior. That program is going on right next door to me. I keep it close. It's right next to my office so I can see those people's eyes, my baby's eyes daily. How you doing? Happy New Year. Did you eat well? McDonald's gave you free food while everybody's off on the day after Christmas, but you're over here with the mentor life coach because home will cause you to get shot and some others. Come on, you can spend the night if you need to. So those type of programs need people who are professionals to say, hey, volunteer, help, or just to talk and say, hey, I see you. You need some success business clothes. You need a shirt and tie for an interview. Do you need to mock trial your interview? Do you need somebody to just help you learn how to read because you're 17 and you read at the 5th grade level? That's the truth for one of my kids. That's just the truth. The name of that program, honestly, is the Apple Tree Program. I'm probably going to change the name because that's like, why would you call it Apple Tree? Well, my person who like thought of it's like, you know how when the apple fell off the tree on Newton's head and he created calculus? Well, that's what we want for all these kids. Like, oh, I got it. That's why it's called the Apple Tree Program. But nonetheless, and it's in conjunction with St. Louis County and St. Louis City courts. They send us the kids and we give them what we just described. But we need mentors. We need some support for that. We need some clothes. They need some food or gift cards to get food and so forth. So anything to help those students, those are our greatest in need students. But what I just described to you, that's the future of education. And it looks way different than this, way different than this. And that's a solution to the killings and everything else, but it looks way different than this. That's all I can say on that with the time I've been given. I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm a punctual person, and I want to wrap it up with saying this. I do believe that we are sufficient together, that if it can be done, we can do it. I know that. That's partially why now is the time for me to literally step outside of the superintendency and to move on to more of a regional and statewide leadership stuff and all the stuff I just said. So I'm only retiring from the position, not the mission. I'm only retiring from this role, but not these goals. So the paradigm in living in DC is this: the word fear. My last, if I don't share anything else, I close on this slide: fear. Fear must be reframed to literally mean face, the F is for face, everything, and rise. We must mentally and physically reframe fear to face everything and rise. I'm telling people that the 325,000 deaths from COVID-19 in 2020 should resonate in your heart and be compared to the 600,000 deaths from the Civil War. And our change in behavior should be equal to half of the change in behavior of the Civil War. If we respected those lives equally to how we respected the 600,000 from the Civil War, what shall we learn from the 325,000 from 2020 alone that will make us change the course of our direction half as much as we did after the Civil War? I don't take it lightly. I say, face that fear, face everything, and rise. We must brave to be better, because to live in DC and get to AC requires that we are better than before in BC. My soundbite on that is this: some people have always been in a situation that has been oppressive. If you are a female, if you are a person of color, if you are older than 60, ageism exists. These are all categories in which there's something that holds you back. During COVID, everybody is oppressed. So I tell them, welcome home. That's why I use the notion of, okay, COVID is like going from 21 to 91, because 91-year-olds are oppressed. So now, welcome home. I got a little something to tell you about that. And so ultimately, we must be better than we were before. We must love one another enough to have common good health, well-being, and support for all. Equity is what love looks like in public amongst strangers. Thank you, guys. My time is done. Appreciate you all.
Well, actually, Dr. McCoy, we have about 3 minutes, and you've done an amazing job of keeping up with questions as they arose in the chat. I have to tell you, as a presenter myself, I am awed that you can talk and read at the same time. But I think there are 2 questions that are probably in many people's minds, just based on what I know about this group. And those have to do with your need for food delivery assistance and your need for mentors. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about those programs, and particularly with regard to the mentor aspect, how we could be involved in a way that doesn't involve white saviors riding in on their big horse.
That's right. That's very true. Good stuff. So, and Karen helped me to remember. So we have 2 homeless shelters that operate with 20 students in them. And of those 20 students, those kids get clothes that they wear from us, generous people like you. They get food, they get money, and they get calls, they get visits, they get outings. They actually do service learning projects because of people like you who have an idea or something just left over that's like, I can't wear this, or I don't need this, or a gift card. And so the easiest way, and so the Hope House programs, the people who oversee that is Pam Price and Tanisha Blocker, who are both certified foster care parents who take the homeless children in and become their foster care parent temporarily or permanently until they're done with high school. And ultimately, they need money for food, they need clothes, they need materials, they need sometimes just fun outings, time at the park, or it's just somebody to talk to, just to say hello. We're thinking about you, like a pen pal, writing a letter and a note and saying, I understand you're in the Hope House. You're not alone. I'm thinking about you. You can make it through this. I know you're going to see your friends soon. Interaction by pen and paper or even email, that kind of thing is just very helpful. The second program is the Apple Tree program, which is with juvenile delinquents that are not delinquent anymore because they're now juvenile warriors. I said, you're all going to be Jennings warriors. You got a job, a mentor, and so forth. They need, from time to time, gift cards for breakfast, lunch, or dinner because they're always with us, because to go home is sometimes not the environment they want to be in or should be in. So like gift cards to McDonald's or to McDonald's and what else is around us? Steak and Shake, the breakfast company that's called Pancake House. The Pancake House, there's that, and there's Cracker Barrel. So those are the 4 restaurants: Cracker Barrel, International House of Pancakes, McDonald's, and Steak and Shake is within like walking distance from our office, which is where they've been getting breakfast and lunch while the school district was closed during winter break. So those kind of gift cards are helpful, but more even than that is sometimes clothes for dressing for success, or mentorship for like how to do well in a business environment or in a work environment, how to just to connect intergenerationally. So that type of mentorship that can be done by phone, by Zoom, so forth and so on. Storytelling, saying this is where I work, this is what I did, so forth. You can do this. I'm just sharing this knowledge with you because you need to see that being you, your future. People talk to them about the opposite of that all the time. You're gonna get thrown in jail. You're gonna die. So, no, you're gonna live. You're gonna be a manager or something. This is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. Just truths. Other programs. I mean, of course, we got traditional kids that are coming to school on Tuesday. And they definitely, we can never have enough masks. So if you make masks or if you get masks, kids need masks. They go through it like popcorn sometimes. But bottom line is they're going to be here, so they need masks. Anything that comes to mind, I would just say, reach out to me, my number. And then also I have staff that I forward it to. So my email, I'm giving you my personal email. And then feel free to email me at any time. I'll forward it to the appropriate people. And then this number is my office number, and it actually forwards directly to my cell phone when you dial that too. So email or call with ideas, requests, donations. I had a guy give me 10 suit coats this morning and said I could help with college reviewing essays for college to edit. I can help them by making a call to a college that I went to say, hey, think about this person, help them out. So that kind of stuff, because seniors are about to go to college, juniors are about to do internships. There's so many programs I have going on that it's hard to even, if you want more of a conversation about something in particular, let me know, because we're about to deploy 60 kids from St. Louis City going to UMSU and then going to work at Cigna after a few months of some deep studying at UMSU. That's going to be kicked off. There's lots of programs that's being kicked off. But why are we kicking off these new programs? It's because that's what education looks like for a high schooler. That love and belonging piece, they don't want to come back to a traditional classroom. Not after getting 6 months of being at home and free and YouTubing at night and turning in work at 11. They're like, why? It doesn't matter to me. Why should I do this? Well, now if you're going to get paid $15 an hour, oh, that's why. It's the same that I can get from Amazon, driving my car, which I got kids doing. Well, if you got a job, man, we'll give you high school credit. It's called Learn and Earn programs. That's a new program. Schools have to reinvent itself to give the children the understanding that you belong here and we're going to make it fit to your world, your life, and the DC era. We're in DC, East Coast, baby, DC. No, I'm sorry. All right. So that's just a little bit of love for you, but that's how things are changing. We got a lot of work to do to reconstruct what education looks like. Somebody told me that they were telling their school, hey, do more, don't just do virtual, so forth, do more. I want to encourage you. That other C that I didn't say is champion. C number 7, and I do things in 7 because 7 is, like a special number. C7 is champion. We need champions for different causes. Schools have to be pushed. They won't volunteer. They're not always that smart to just do it automatically. But if you push them as the champion of that cause, then they'll do it because they value you and they value their tax base and they value buddy talks. So push them. They need people to be champions for certain things, then they'll do it. All right.
Bravo. Now we are the 4 minutes over. So on behalf of Carol and the rest of the group, I'll tell you, thank you very much. It was an incredibly energizing and inspiring hour. And we will, I'm sure, put our heads together and see how we can support you moving forward. Good luck in your new work.
God bless you all. I appreciate you so much.